Hey guys, I am back with a new video, and today I wanted to talk about ego deaths. So let's just jump right into the video. I've had a few ego deaths in my time, and primarily through LSD. Now, LSD is not the only way to attain an ego death. You can do other drugs. I'm just kidding. You can do natural things such as breath work, yoga, meditation, etc. So do not think I am telling you to go out and buy illegal drugs to attain this, because you can do it naturally. It just takes more time and dedication. Explaining an ego death is kind of like trying Coca-Cola for the first time and trying to explain to someone what it tastes like, because that shit is not natural and it doesn't taste like anything else. So it's kind of like the same thing with an ego death. If you haven't experienced it, you don't really know fully what it would be like, but I will do my best to translate it into words. So in my experience, there are different levels of ego death. It just depends on how much the veil has been lifted. An ego death to me is detaching from your idea of yourself. For a lot of people, this could be a hard concept to grasp because they haven't known anything besides their ego. Your ego is like the facade you put on. Basically, your personality. When you form your personality, you form your ego. When you're a baby, you don't really have an ego. You shit your pants. You don't know that in society, if you would do that as an adult, you're considered like a sociopath. That is an example of having no ego. There's no embarrassment. There's no judgment. There's no self to judge, if that makes sense. And honestly, all an ego is a result of the conditioning, the result of what we went through as a child at an early age and what formed our personality. We have been conditioned to have this barrier of protection. An ego death is probably one of the most amazing feelings you will ever experience, ever. Just saying that now, it will change your entire life and your perception on life as a whole. First of all, when you do LSD, you feel pure bliss, unless you're having a bad trip. It's all about your mindset going into it, so if you have any underlying fear, that's gonna come up while you're on acid, but if you have no resistance, you're not gonna have a bad trip. It's the resistance that causes the bad trip. You feel this pure bliss, and you're like, whoa, like I'm capable of feeling this. It honestly feels like how you would feel when you die, pretty much. It gives you a glimpse of your true nature that we have just lost touch with, and when you tune back into it, you're like, this is how we are in our natural form. We are literally pure joy. And what comes along with that is a perception change. It kind of gives you a bird's eye view lookout on life. Okay, so my ego death was like full on. I was out of my body. I was gone. I did not have a self. This is super hard to explain, but during this trip, I realized that I was God, and so are you, and so is everything that's alive. Anything that is living is God. Good, bad, if it's alive, it's God. I remember setting an intention before that trip, asking the universe to show itself to me, and I'm like, I'm sick of like looking for you. I want you to show yourself to me. And boy, did it show itself to me. I literally had the perspective of God, and I realized that God was everything in existence. And it kind of felt like I was like a ghost possessing my body, and I saw all the little ghosts possessing everyone's bodies that were alive and animals that were alive. It felt like I was in the movie Avatar when he just went into his like blue body for the first time, moving it around. I felt like the person inside of this body controlling it and moving it, and that ghost, that spirit, whatever you want to call it, it's within everything that's alive and existing. I became one with that perspective of the source of life within everything. I saw everything as an extension of myself, and my idea of myself disappeared. It was like, oh my god, like I don't exist. I just remember saying, me in relation to these people, me in relation to whatever, there is no me. It's all the same thing. I am everything. And this is where it gets a little confusing if you've never remotely experienced something like this. It's like, what the fuck is this bitch talking about? You can't really fully understand it unless you actually experience it. I was watching this documentary about George Harrison and like his spiritual journey. He said something along the lines of, if there's a soul, you must perceive it. If there's a God, you must have direct perception of it. It's better to be an outspoken atheist than someone who claims to know the truth when you've never had proof of it, when you've never felt it, when you've never seen it. I knew that God or the universe or whatever was real before I had this trip. I didn't know it on like a cellular level that it was real. I've never claimed to be atheist ever, but now that I'm thinking about it, before this trip, I was an outspoken atheist. I've been told what's real, but I never experienced it for myself. So now I know it's real. If you haven't experienced this as well, don't take what I'm saying as the ultimate truth, because for all you know, I could be a liar. So look within yourself, and that's where you're gonna find it. It's nowhere outside of you. It's literally within you. Basically, ego death is losing your sense of self, losing your sense of separation from the world, isolation. The further you go within an ego death, the closer you come to source consciousness, God, basically. When you go into God's perspective of things, it's like, oh my God, like life is literally just so beautiful. Everything is so beautiful. Along with that, it made me kind of realize how small my problems were. But when I was tripping, I kind of realized we're tiny, tiny, tiny little humans on a floating rock, flying through space. So it's just your perception of what's happening is what's dictating how you feel. Made life less serious than we make it out to be. I realized life is really not a serious, intense, negative experience unless you make it that way, but that's the beauty of free will. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe or don't. I'm not your mom, so do whatever you want, but yeah, if you have any questions, leave them down below. I would be happy to answer them. If you have any experience with this, leave it down below because I find this stuff super interesting. Everyone has different experiences with this kind of stuff, so it's really interesting to hear other people's perspectives. And yeah, I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I love you all, and namaste.